My daughter told a buyer I was just kitchen help while the sale contract sat open on the table. I stayed quiet, even when my name was missing from the seller line. Then I noticed the old business license had vanished from the wall. If you have ever been talked over in a place you built with your own hands, you will understand why I stayed quiet at first. My name is Mallory Clark. I am 71 years old, and I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where my late husband Roy and I opened Clark's Corner Diner when the rent was cheap, the floors were crooked, and the coffee machine only behaved if Roy kicked it with his left boot. I still held the coffee pot by its warm glass neck, staring at the empty place behind the counter where the license had hung for 28 years. That morning, the frame was gone, and the wall showed a pale rectangle where sunlight had never reached. Cal, my son-in-law, leaned back in the booth with one arm along the seat. "Mallory, why don't you bring that peach pie from the back?" he said. "Let us handle the business talk up front." Mr. Rosenthal glanced at me, then down at his folder. Denise kept her fingers on the contract, like she was afraid the paper might run away. "Mom still helps out when she wants to feel useful," she said. Then she gave me that bright, hard smile I had been seeing more and more. "You're not the owner anymore, Mom. You're just the kitchen help." The coffee had been sitting too long on the warmer, and the bitter smell came up between us. I set the pot on the counter, wiped the drip from the spout, and walked to the pie case because my hands needed something ordinary to do. Roy and I opened that diner with money saved in coffee cans and a lease signed at a kitchen table. Denise grew us up doing homework in booth 3, while I folded bills beside her milkshake. Roy wrote the first menu by hand on a blackboard. His old pickup sat behind the diner every night under the light by the back door. After Roy passed, I let Denise handle more of the daily work. My knees were stiff, and grief made numbers blur on the page. Denise knew that diner like a second home, or so I thought. At first, she did help. Payroll got done, vendors got called. Then Roy's handwritten menu disappeared one Monday and came back as a glossy printed board without the Friday pie special. I found the old board leaning beside the dumpster. Denise said the old look made us seem tired. Cal stood behind her and said nostalgia was not a growth plan. I carried the board to the storage rooms and slid it behind Roy's old receipt boxes. Some arguments are not worth having until you know what they are really about. After that, Denise corrected me in front of staff. "Mom, let the girls handle the register." "Mom, customers don't need stories with their coffee." "Mom, we use the new supplier now." I stepped back because I told myself she was busy, not careless. That was easier than admitting my own daughter was starting to work around me. Have you ever noticed one small detail that made the whole place feel different? The morning Mr. Rosenthal came in, I had arrived early to fill the sugar jars. Near the register sat a bank envelope addressed to Denise Clark at Clark's Corner Diner. It was open, and a folded page had slid halfway out. The word sale preparations sat near the top. I heard Denise's heels in the hall, so I pushed the paper back and reached for a sugar jar. She slipped the envelope under a stack of menus. Cal followed with his phone to his ear, saying the asset would look cleaner once the old clutter was gone. Old clutter. That meant the framed photographs, Roy's menu board, the brass bell by the door, and maybe me. Now, with the buyer eating my peach pie and Denise talking sale terms, I kept looking at the empty place on the wall. The license was gone. A contract with Denise's name lay open in the booth where Roy used to eat lunch. The lunch rush came hard after that. The bell over the door kept snapping open, the register drawer stuck twice, and bacon grease settled into my apron. I moved between the counter and the kitchen because that was where Denise wanted me, useful but out of view. Near noon, Earl Patterson came in and took his regular stool. Earl had been eating at our counter since Roy still had black hair. He looked past the young girl with the coffee pot and asked, "Mallory, why aren't you running front anymore?" The girl froze. Denise stepped in from the register, her smile tight at the corners. Mom gets confused with the register now, she said. We keep her in the kitchen where things are easier. The words landed in front of Earl, two servers, and Mr. Rosenthal's assistant. Cal came out of the office and added, "She's better back there. Keeps her busy." No one laughed. Earl looked down at his coffee. Jenna, one of the servers, suddenly became very interested in straightening napkins. I wiped a brown ring from the counter and watched Denise rest her hand on the register I had bought years ago. My ears felt hot, but my fingers stayed steady around the cloth. After Earl left, Cal went back into Roy's old office, and through the narrow crack of the door, I saw a tan folder on the desk. A yellow sticky note curled from the top. The folder was open just enough for me to read seller signature required across the first page. Below that, Denise Clark was typed where my name should have been. Cal noticed me and shut the folder with 2 fingers. "Don't worry yourself with paperwork, Mallory. Denise has it handled." Wet owled. He said it the way people say wet floor, like I was supposed to step around it and keep moving. I finished the shift because customers still needed coffee and clean tables. When we closed, Denise and Cal left in a hurry, saying they had a bank meeting in the morning. I sat alone in Roy's old pickup behind the diner before I went back inside. The parking lot was quiet except for a truck groaning down the road. The bank envelope sat in my lap, its corner bent where my thumb kept pressing it. The paper inside mentioned sale preparation, asset review, and preliminary closing documents. It did not explain everything. It explained enough. The storage room smelled like flour dust, lemon cleaner, and cardboard. Behind the trash bin, leaning against the wall, was the old business license. The frame was dusty, and one cracked line ran across the glass. Still, my name showed plain enough. Mallory Clark, owner and operator, Clark's Corner Diner. I held it with both hands the way I used to hold Roy's lunch pail when he forgot it on the counter. Careful, a little angry, more hurt than I wanted to be. Taped to the back of the frame was a yellow note with 3 words, Friday. Signature sale. I took the license and the bank envelope home in a grocery bag. The next morning, I called Martin Hales from my kitchen table with Roy's old address book open beside my mug. Martin had kept our books for 20 years. He answered on the 4th ring, his voice rough from sleep, and he went quiet when I told him what I had found. "Bring me the papers," he said, "and bring that license." His office sat over a dry cleaner on Prince Street. Martin looked thinner now, but his hands were still careful as he laid the license on his desk. He opened one drawer, then another. "Denise can manage payroll and venture payments," he said after reading the first file, "but that is not the same thing as ownership." He found a copy of an old authorization form, then frowned. "There should be a lease folder," he said. "Original bank stamp, transfer language, signatures. If it says what I think it says, your daughter cannot sell that diner without you." He found the folder in a metal cabinet that squealed when he pulled it open. It was blue, faded at the edges, with a bank stamp across the front. Martin turned the pages slowly, and I watched his face more than the paper. "Here it is," he said. "Denise is authorized for payroll and vendors. That is all." He slid the page toward me. My signature sat near the bottom, older and firmer than the one I use now. Below it, the folder stated that any sale, transfer, or ownership change required the valid signature of the owner, and the owner named there was me. Martin called Paula Reed at Fulton Bank, and with my permission, he put the phone on speaker. After Martin read the clause, Paula did not pause. "The sale cannot move forward without Mrs. Clark's valid owner signature," she said. "Not a manager's approval, not a prepared consent form, the owner's signature." I put my thumb over my name on the license and took the first full breath I had taken all week. Before I left, Martin showed me one more note from the bank file. It mentioned a separate loan tied to Cal's equipment business, marked past due. It did not prove every private thing, but it told me enough. My diner was being polished up as a rescue rope for a debt I had never made. That evening, Denise called while I sat at my kitchen table with the blue folder beside my tea. Her voice was soft, almost sweet, the way it had been when she was young and wanted to borrow the car. "Mom, we're doing this for you," she said. "You're too old to carry this place. We just need you to sign a few things so you can finally rest." I looked Roy's chipped mug by the sink. My hand stayed flat on the folder. "I'll be at the signing," I told her. She exhaled like I had handed her exactly what she wanted. "Good. Cal and I knew you would understand." Oh, I understood. Just not the way she meant. The signing was set for the next morning before opening. The chairs were still upside down on the tables when I walked in, and the diner smelled of coffee grounds and floor cleaner. Denise had dressed like she was already the owner of something cleaner and newer. Cal stood near the end booth with a pen in his hand. Mr. Rosenthal sat with his folder open. Paula Reed beside him, and Martin near the window. Jenna and Earl were there too, quiet near the counter. Denise smiled when she saw me. "There you are, Mom. We were just telling Mr. Rosenthal you agreed it was time to step back." Cal pulled out a chair and placed the pen in front of me. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," he said under his breath. "Would you have signed just to keep peace, or waited until everyone saw the truth?" I did not pick up the pen. I reached into my tote bag and laid the old framed business license on the table. Glass crack facing up, my name visible in the morning light. "Then why is my name still on the license you're trying to sell?" Denise reached toward the frame like she meant to move it aside. I placed 2 fingers on the corner and left them there. The room went quiet enough for me to hear the refrigerator humming behind the pie case. "Mom, that is old paperwork," Denise said. "You do not understand how modern business transfers work." Martin opened the blue folder without raising his voice. Paula adjusted her glasses and read the page he placed in front of her. Then she closed the sale packet in front of Mr. Rosenthal. "Mrs. Clark is the legal owner for purposes of sale or transfer," Paula said. "Without her valid signature, this transaction cannot proceed." Mr. Rosenthal looked from Denise to Cal. "Then why does this contract list Denise Clark as seller?" Cal's face changed first. The red came up from his collar. "It is a misunderstanding," he said. "We were helping Mallory simplify things." "No, Cal," I said. "A misunderstanding is Earl getting wheat toast instead of rye. This was my name being used where I was not invited." No one answered. Denise stared at the license like it had embarrassed her. Paper does not embarrass people. It only sits still long enough for the truth to catch up. Mr. Rosenthal gathered his documents and stood. "I am withdrawing my offer until ownership is clarified," he said. Paula told Denise the bank would review the sale preparation file. Martin slipped the lease folder back into his briefcase. The pen Cal had placed in front of me rolled off the table and hit the floor with a small, hard click. After everyone left, Denise followed me into the kitchen. Her face had lost its polish. She said she was sorry, but her voice still carried more fear than regret. I told Avter I loved her. Then I told her she and Cal were removed from payroll authority, vendor approval, bank mail, and all sale paperwork until I decided otherwise. Cal's debt stayed Cal's debt. The diner would not pay for it. If Denise wanted to earn back trust, she could work regular shifts, but she would not touch the books or the filing cabinet. She started to cry. I wanted to reach for her. Instead, I reached for the filing cabinet key and put it back in my pocket. By the next week, I had shortened the diner hours. Meatloaf came back on Thursdays. I rehung the business license behind the counter, right where the pale rectangle had waited for it. One morning before the first customer came in, I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat in the booth by the front window. Sunlight touched the cracked wood frame on the wall. The bell over the door was quiet, and for once, so was my heart. I still loved Denise. That did not change. But when the bell rang that morning and Earl stepped inside, I looked up from my coffee as the owner, not the help. If this story stayed with you, stay with the channel for more stories about dignity, family, and starting over.